What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about my updated Orcust K9 deck profile for the post-YCS Pittsburgh format. I did some pretty extensive digging into the post-YCS format by watching the YCS back in its entirety, and I have made some changes to the deck based off of that. I think that my list was slightly incorrect to take to YCS Pittsburgh. I think that it probably would have performed fine in terms of, possibly getting me to top 32, or, just kind of bubbling to that point. But I'm not confident that that list would have taken me to top 8. And it's because all of the professionals were changing their deck list to reflect what they were seeing already in the format previous to the YCS. And so I am making those changes now, and my deck list performed well, obviously, previous to this, but I am needing to make some changes, and as the format has developed, we are starting to realize that board breakers are not very good. They're very easy to out, and that's what these players are coming up with. Is the YCS Anaheim champion had determined that board breakers were going to be very prevalent, and that Christian was not going to be able to be well favored into board breakers. But if you completely lock your opponent out of the game and they don't even have the opportunity to play, then it doesn't really matter what board breakers you have. And then again, same with this next format at YCS Pittsburgh. A lot of the decks that were hard losing to blanket negates, such as Dark Ruler, the yummy decks, essentially, that was the most represented deck that would hard lose to something like a Dark Ruler. Those types of decks are now putting in Silo Hat Rabbit and putting in the Apophis Trap to be able to stop that from happening. And so whenever we're seeing trends like that, we have to make sure that we're adapting our deck list as well to make us the most optimal list as well. This is kind of what happens every format. Every format, when people are unsure of what to play, they play board breakers because they're just blanket cards that can possibly out a board, and a lot of people like that. But Konami has designed this game to be interactive on both your turn and your opponent's turn. And so they really favor hand traps mostly. And so that's why every single format you see, it always changes. We go from a board breaker format at the beginning, and then everybody realizes that hand traps were always the answer and that that's what you should be playing. So we are full sending it. I am very confident that my main deck would have performed very well at this event. It would have been the side deck that would have given me trouble. My side patterns would have been very poor. The cards that I have cited in for specific matchups, probably wouldn't have favored very well. And that was just, again, by the design of the players that are probably playing this game more frequently than I am. So I am willing to admit when I'm wrong, and I think that my previous side deck was wrong. And so we'll go through the entire deck list just so that any of the people who didn't see my previous deck list before YCS Pittsburgh knows what I was playing. What got me the 12-0 win when I went that weekend to the 3 separate box tournaments. But also, I'll be showing my side deck pretty intensely, and we'll be going over as well the different side deck patterns that I have planned out for every single matchup. So we'll go ahead and just get straight on into it. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so that you get notified by YouTube every single time I upload a video. All of these things really, really help out the channel. If you guys like this content, if you feel like you're getting good education from this, or feel like you just like hearing me talk for whatever reason, then again, I really, really encourage you to help me out and just hit that like and subscribe button. So, of course, we're going to start off with the main deck here. We're playing triple Gearsu, triple Harp, triple Jokel, triple Case, triple Elements, and Foolish Burial. None of this changes. I believe that this is the best engine that you can possibly be playing in terms of the 9 copies of Jokel. Jokel really is the heart and soul of this deck. It is our best extender in the entire deck, so we really want to be able to see this card as much as possible. It pairs with every single card in the deck. All Orcust names are technically level 5s through the bridge, and of course if you draw any other K9 card with Jokel, then that is the level 5 that you'll be using to summon out Jokel. But we can bridge the 2 engines together as we have seen in previous combos. Gear 2 is your best 1-card starter. This card turns into 4 bodies all on its own, if you count the Galatea Link 1 being able to bring itself back from the grave, and Link 4 being able to take the token that you gave to your opponent, but it also produces itself and the body from the token that it generates. And if you want to count Orcust Heartpourer as well, then it really produces 5 bodies. But you know, just on its own, it does a lot when it's not negated with Imperm or Ash Blossom. And so, talking about extenders, Heartpourer is a very good extender for the deck because of the Link 1. The Link 1 pitches Heartpourer from your hand, and so we can get multiple normal summons out of our hand by using the Link 1, and this is how this card turns into an extender now for the deck. The Link 1 and Link 4, they designed these cards so well for Orcust. Again, this deck is extremely underexplored. I personally think that it is underrepresented just because a lot of people aren't playing it or taking the time to play it. I do think that if it became the best deck and it had a target on its back, you know, there would be some, you know, kind of contentions that you would have to make, such as, you know, Bestials being pretty good into these. But again, you know, if you have the certain extenders, you know, you can work through any of that, and that's why the K9 engine is so insane for this deck and so correct to be playing as well. If you're playing an Orcust variant, you really should be playing K9 cards and not worrying about playing pure with Impulse or the Mitsurugi engine or anything like that. The K9 engine is absolutely the way to go with this deck. It has just as much synergy as the K9 Crystron deck, if not more synergy, just because of the way that the cards pair and play together. Where with Crystron, really it's more of a pure K9 deck, and you're using the Crystron deck to raise the ceiling. Where with this deck, it really is an Orcust deck. You're just using the K9 engine to extend and beat the weaknesses that the Orcust engine previously had prior to this. And so getting into the other starters of the deck, these are suboptimal starters. Scrap Recycler being the way that we bridge the engines together, but it technically is a 1-card combo if uninterrupted. You dump Heartpourer and then go through your normal Orcust combo. Noroi, same way. You can bridge the 2 engines together actually fairly well with just Noroi. It's a very powerful 1-card starter if it resolves. The problem with this card and why we only play it at 1 is because if Noroi gets stopped by something like an Imperm or a Veiler, and you don't have 2 cards to extend, or, you know, obviously if Noroi gets stopped by a monster effect and you have a Zuna in hand, you know, that works too. But essentially, if Noroi gets stopped and it's the only card that you have, there's no way to extend past that. If you just have a Jokel in hand or just have a Heartpourer, there's no way to extend past that point. And so that's why these are suboptimal starters. And then we have our pseudo bricks of the deck. So these are engine requirement pieces. They're very good cards, but paired with Jokel, they're full combo. It's just unfortunate that they don't do anything by themselves, but you have to play all of these engine requirements. They are extremely good and increase the ceiling of this deck by an astronomical amount. And so these bricks are World Chalice, Symbol Skeleton, Lantern, and Lupus. This is how we turn Skeleton into a level 5 monsters off of the Link 1, as well as any other Orcust name. And there's plenty of combos that you can do with Lantern and Lupus as well to make them unbricked. I did do a previous video called stop bricking with Orcust, and I showed the combo where if you have all 3 of these bricks in your hand, then it is actually full combo, and it can actually play through interruptions as well. So this is not something to scoff at all. These bricks still have function, and they are not as bricky as you really think that they are. As for the hard bricks of the deck, we're playing 1 Force Release and then the 2 Orcust spells. We're not playing any other Orcust cards in terms of Nightmare or World Wand. Those cards are bricks. Those cards don't add any value to the deck. They don't add anything to your end board that your end board can't already do. They are literally just bricks in the deck, as well as the Draw 2 spell. I'm blanking on the name right now because I've never used it, but that card is just not needed in the deck. We really just want to get to Crescendo into Babel, so much so that we don't even side these cards out when we're going second, because we want to grind with our opponent, and taking out something like a Crescendo or a Babel would be like a Dracotail player taking out one of the traps, just because they're going second. It's just not correct. It really just is not. The hard brick of the deck is Force Release, because this card does not do anything by itself. You really have to have a K9 Xyz monster. The only way that it ever finds value is when you're going, in terms of when you're going second, is if you're trying to reduce your opponent's life points to 0, and doing that in the battle phase, you can do the Force Release combo into Werewolf with the Jacks, and if your opponent activated a monster effect, it's a very easy and clean OTK from there. These cards are not terrible bricks. They are still bricks. They're not optimal cards to have in hand, but at the very least, they provide you with resource management. So you can ditch these cards off of the Galatail Link 1, and then banish them off of the Galatail Link 1's graveyard effect to summon itself back, and then just add those cards back from the banished pile off of the Link 4. Of course, you have to Link climb all the way to the Link 4 to be able to do that, but most times you can. This deck is really good at extending past interruptions. And for hand traps, these have stayed exactly the same. Triple Azuna, this is an engine piece as well as a very good hand trap, and this card was not very good to the previous format, when everybody thought that Yummy Mitsurugi was just the best deck, and now people are starting to understand that this is a bit of a triangle format. K9 decks are very well paired into Dracotail. Dracotail is very well paired into Yummy, and Yummy is very well paired into the K9 cards. So we kind of have this loop, and you really have to kind of build your deck to beat your poor matchup, and then just try to identify what deck is going to be most present in the room, which I believe is going to be Dracotail, and so you kind of build your deck to beat both of those decks at the same time. We are also playing triple Fua, triple Ash, triple Bell, and triple Droplets, just as we were last time. Fua is the best going second card in the entire game. It increases your win percentage by the most significant margin over any other going second card. The Ash Blossom and Ghost Bell, we discussed this last time, but these cards are good because they're offensive and defensive cards. You can draw them in multiples, you can draw them for turn, and they find impact most times against most matchups. So these cards are extremely good into this format. Of course, Ash Blossom negates Fua, but that is not its only utility. I think the argument for saying that Ash is just in people's decks for Fua, you're not thinking of this card correctly. It is a very, very good hand trap, and so is Bell. Forbidden Droplet, this is the best board breaker in the entire game. This card has come up for me so many times and so many games, especially with this deck where you can pitch resources, to be able to gain advantage from the graveyard. So this card finds impact all the time. It's very good at, again, getting unwanted cards out of your hand, as well as just being a generic good board breaker. It's also very good in the fact that if you can make the proper read and you have, trap or spell cards in your hand, that you can make it completely unrespondable, unlike Dark Ruler, as well as its quick playability, because matches like Dracotail cannot be just blanket negated by a Dark Ruler. It doesn't really do anything because most of their interactions actions are from the hand and the back row rather than the actual monsters that they set up on their end board, in terms of the field. So the quick play ability of Droplet is what we really, really value, being able to interact with our opponent at any time whenever we need that clutch moment. And then getting into the extra deck here, so it is all the same as well. We have one of each of the Orcust names, 5 cards total for the Orcust extra deck engine. Link 1, this is probably the best Link 1 in the game. I'm pretty confident in saying that. I understand Snatchy is a good Link 1. People are going to come at me saying, there's no way that Snatchy isn't better, but I just, for this specific, the way that it integrates with this deck, if you really, really know this deck and you've played this deck a lot, I think that you'll agree that this is a superb Link 1. It really truly is just the best Link 1 in the current metagame. Dracotail Link 2 and then Yugioh Link 3. These cards are just part of your engine requirement as well. To do the full combo in some occasions when you don't have extra bodies from the K9 cards, you do either need 2 Dracotail Link 2 or you need 1 and 1. I find more impact with the Yugioh. A lot of people just play into the zone and then it does shuffle back 2 if you really get into the grindy resource game, but it's come up several times for me. This is the best boss monster in the game. You're not going to be able to sway me. You could probably sway me into saying that Snatchy is a better Link 1 than Dracotail Link 1. You're not gonna sway me. This is the best boss monster in the game. The only card that's even comparable is Liger Dancer. I think people just don't put value on this card because Orcust is not very well represented, but it is the best boss monster in the game. It completely loops your resources back to your hand. It's a non-targeting permanent take of your opponent's monster, so you can just control the game so much better with this card, as well as if they out it has a hidden graveyard effect that you are able to banish it and then non-target send a card on your opponent's side of the field. And then Dingirsu turns any of our link monsters into a non-link monster in being an Xyz monster. It provides protection for us as well from destruction. It does it at resolution, so it doesn't even activate, so that is very good in terms of that, especially as people continue to try to play board breakers or destruction, or thinking that Murakumo is enough to get rid of our board. This card is also a non-target send and attaches from the banish zone, so it's very good at going first and going second for us. Some more links. We're playing IP and SP, of course. We frequently make IP on our end board because the K9 cards provide a lot of bodies for us, and SP is a good utility card in terms of going first or going second. So I think this card should probably put in almost every single person's extra deck, other than maybe Dracotail. At least in my testing with Dracotail, SP really hasn't come up for me all that much, but it comes up in every single other deck that I play it in. So. And then some engine requirements: Clockwork Knight, Platinum Gadget, Infantrak. This is how we bridge the K9 engine into our Orcust engine. This searches our Scrap Recycler. This specials it from hand if we've already used our normal summon. This is what makes our Scrap Recycler being able to do it twice, as well as getting the Platinum Gadget off of our field if we use that, because Platinum Gadget cannot be used as link material. Clockwork Knight also searches the continuous spell Clockwork Knight, and so that is a very good floodgate against mono type decks or decks that are needing a certain type to be able to perform certain functions such as synchro Xyz or link summons. So these cards are essential for the deck. There is no cutting these cards. You have to play them. By the way, I think this entire extra deck is the 15 perfect cards. I don't think that there's really any way to sway. I've tried fitting in other cards. I've tried taking out other cards. A lot of people tell me that I just have to play Typhon with how much branded people are playing because of the new cards. I don't know. I just don't believe in Typhon, and it just never really comes up for me. The only time that it ever does come up for me is when I'm in a situation where it's probably unwinnable anyway. So I would rather concede those games and be able to have the utility cards to win those other games. So we are playing Gravity Controller and Valon. I put these cards so that people know that the theory behind them is in conjunction with each other. So This card solos Dracotail by itself. What you do is if you have Azuna as your hand trap, you just wait until their combo is completely finished. You summon out Valon into the extra monster zone with it in defense position, and then you book one of their monsters such as a Gulamel or the Philly Regis, and then on their turn you can book another monster such as, if they made both of those monsters on their field. You make this card untargetable with Lupus, but if you need to detach the Lupus for cost, you don't want to play into the bounce trap, so you want to be able to clear off the trap that you think is the most bothersome to your hand. Most of the time it's actually Sting, so that's really, most of the time the one that you, unless you really need to resolve a spell card, that's the one that you really need to get rid of most of the time. The bounce does matter too. You have to make that judgment call when you do it. But anyway, you book 2 monsters and then you summon Gravity Controller by linking this off from the extra monster zone, and then this sends away whatever trap you cannot play through. It's come up several times for me. It even comes up in follow-up as well, so if I break my opponent's Dracotail board, I'll summon this up in the extra monster zone, or just summon it in any zone, use it as link material. Sometimes I don't even use the actual book effect, and they have set follow-ups such as Ketu or Rahu, and then you just link this card off and then pop the back row. So you can remove a lot of cards with this deck. This deck is very good at removal. And then we're playing the 3 K9 XCs. I think that you absolutely have to play all of these. These have come up multiple times for me. I know a lot of people are cutting one or the other. I think actually a lot of people are cutting Jacks from what I'm seeing in deck lists, but I think that they're all essential. It's coming up for me probably once every single time I go and play Yu-Gi-Oh! So if I go to a 3 or 4 round tournament, at least one game I am OTKing through Werewolf on top of Jax. So I think that they're both essential. And I wouldn't have had a way to OTK or clean up the game. It's probable that I probably would have won that game anyway, just grinding with my opponent. But you don't want to grind with your opponent if you don't have to. If you have a way to kill shot your opponent, you should just be doing it, and you should be playing the cards in your extra deck to make that possible. So that's why I really recommend playing all of these cards. And now for the side deck. This is what's different from the previous list, and this is the side deck that I would go off of for this specific format if you're wanting the most optimal Orcust K9 deck list. So we are playing triple Retaliating Sea. This is kind of the floodgate for Dracotail. If Dracotail has a very good hand, you're probably not playing through their end board. That's just kind of part of the game, as if your opponent has a really good hand and your hand is just kind of suboptimal, then you're probably not going to play through it. So we really want to play a floodgate. It's the most represented deck. We have a good matchup into the deck. Most of the time our main deck is just going to beat Dracotail anyway, but we just really want to just have that extra card to just side out 3 going first cards. I will tell you what I'm siding out for just a generic going second triple package would be the Scrap Recycler, Noroi, and the Quick Play spell. All 3 of those cards don't really find a lot of impact or resiliency going into a board, and so we really just want to cut those cards going second. I know that it probably comes up sometimes where you need to bridge the 2 engines together and then you want to look for Scrap Recycler, but you can usually just beat them with the K9 engine anyway if you're playing correctly. So you don't really need to worry about having those cards in going second. They're just for really going first, essentially. And so Retaliating Sea is just our way of swapping those out for Dracotail and just provides us a floodgate as well. And for the people that would say that, that this card, counters this deck, because of the Orcust cards, Orcust is a link deck. You just link this monster off, and then it just goes to the graveyard as well as whatever Orcust link monster or Orcust main deck monster that you have. So it's just a generic good floodgate for any fusion deck. This card is good into Memento. This card is good into Dracotail. It's good into branded. The pure branded decks that people are playing. So I think this card has a good spot in the format. It's definitely well warranted, and even though the deck has a good Dracotail matchup, this is the card that we're siding in for them. And then we are playing triple Nib, triple Droll, and triple Imperm. Again, we are trading all of our board breakers for hand traps. I think that these are absolutely necessary. Nib is starting to find more impact than ever into the format because less and less people are playing K9 decks, and a lot of people are cutting cards from the extra decks to play around board breakers because that's what people are playing. So we want to play cards that are good into the unfavorable matches for us, and that would be the Yummy deck. My thought process behind this lineup here is that the most represented decks in the room are going to be Dracotail being number one, and so our deck inherently beats Dracotail, as well as siding in the Retaliating Sea just as an extra kind of measure or push. Going into Yummy, we are siding in triple Nib and triple Droll. Droll's only going in for Yummy if it's not the pure version. If it's the pure version, don't side in Droll, it's not good. But if it's not the pure version, and if it's the Sulfur version or the Mitsurugi version, you can keep them off of going into, you know, those different engines off of Droll. So this card is very good into those, which most people are not going to be playing pure Yummy. So that is probably going to be our worst matchup, is pure Yummy, honestly. So yeah, we side these cards in, and then if we are going against our Lunalight deck, we're going to side in Droll and Imperm. Lunalight, technically, with a really good hand, can play through Droll, but again, they're not going to have, you know, that amazing hand every single time, so that is why we, you know, value Droll, is because this is good into other decks as well. It's good into Ryziel. You know, it can even find impact sometimes into Maliss. I probably wouldn't side this deck or side this card into Maliss, but into Maliss, we are siding in Nib and Imperm. I don't think that it's very valid to kind of be scared of like them flipping up a trap on one of their Maliss monsters. You kind of just want to stop their starter, you know, from the start. They don't have Splash Made to extend anymore, as well as the Ryziel decks, you know, being kind of into all three of these hand traps. You know, you can side in all three of these hand traps into the Ryziel Onomat deck as well. And then in terms of, you know, Vanquish Soul, Nib and Droll are very good into Vanquish Soul, as well as if they don't have a bouncer, you know, the Imperm is also good into Vanquish Soul. The rest of your deck is, you know, very, very good into Vanquish Soul as well. I usually do very, very well into Vanquish Soul. The only time that I've ever lost against Vanquish Soul is when Paradise Smasher was still in the format, and you just get FTK'd by that card. But otherwise, this deck has a very favorable matchup into that. I'll tell you what, this deck just really has a favorable matchup into most decks, other than pure Yummy or, you know, any variation of Yummy, pretty much. But the pure Yummy deck is actually this deck's kind of worst nightmare, to be quite honest. So every other deck it has a great matchup into. You know, I'm 2-0ing a lot of opponents with this deck. So I'm not sure why it's not being more represented. I don't know if people are just scared to play it. I don't know if people just don't know the lines. I don't know if people just, you know, don't understand how powerful the deck is, or if there's just too many people out there just saying that it's a bad deck. I don't really see why people are saying what they're saying about the deck. I'm having tremendous success with it. So, and then for going first cards, so, you know, just like last time, we're playing Called By, Talents, and Clockwork Knight. You know, these are just easy trade outs for our Fuwallaces, and if Clockwork Knight isn't good into the matchup, then you can always just side in, you know, like an Imperm, or, you know, a lot of times you're siding in stuff like Droll or Nib, you know, as a going first card as well, just because they can have pretty good impact. You know, you set up a board and then you know, can do something like Nib and get your resources back with the Orcust engine. You know, you usually have K9 follow-up as well. So, you know, Nib can be a pretty good kind of floodgate as well. And then Droll and Lockbird, you know, is kind of an obvious choice as well. So that is it for the deck profile post-YCS Pittsburgh. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys find value in this deck profile and in this video. I'm really, really enjoying the Orcust K9 deck, and I think it's very, very favorable into the upcoming format. We'll have to see how the side set changes, but I don't think it's going to change a lot. I don't think that the decks that are in that side set, it's like some kind of Pendulum deck does things with like a flip summon, as well as the Killer Tune deck, which seems like it's probably the most powerful out of those. And then I think they're called like Heka hands or something like that. All of them, you know, I've taken a brief look at them. All of them seem like they're not even close to the power level that's going on in the decks that we have currently. So it almost seems like Konami's trying to kind of downgrade the power level instead of increase it. You know, the most powerful decks that we have in the game right now are for sure from the Justice Hunters set. So I don't think that set is a real threat. I think the format is going to be pretty much the same going into this January regional up at St. Peter's. So if any of you guys are there, you know, just hit me up. I'd love to chat with you and talk with you. But otherwise, thanks again for watching. I really, really appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving me. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help the algorithm push my video out to more people so that people can see this content. And again, comment down below what you guys want to see more of. Comment down below, you know, what you think, you know, in terms of what I'm saying about this deck. You know, I love feedback, and I love being proven wrong. You know, there's so many times that I'm able to reflect back on mistakes that I've made, and I think it's important that we do that. That is what makes us better players at the end of the day. If you think that any of these professional players did not have their time period where they were questioning their decisions, or they were frequently losing, or you know, playing through formats that they weren't finding favorable, or, you know, were kind of boring to them, they were continuously grinding, and that's how they got better at this game. So I think it's important to reflect on your losses more than you reflect on your wins. But again, enough of the rambling. Thank you guys again for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.